Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream. We have three awesome guests with us today, and we were supposed to start this in about an hour ago, but had some really interesting technical difficulties and had to learn some new things really fast. And I'm having to, we had to go from StreamYard to Zoom in order for everybody to be able to connect with each other. So I'm going to try to push my limits with my technical skills here. And I'm going to try to share this with you guys live through StreamYard on my YouTube channel with the Zoom channel. So I'm going to try to do that right now and hope that I don't get any feedback here. And you guys can make fun of me how many screenshots I have on my desktop here, because there's like a million of them, but there's a reason for all of those. So, okay, let's go to full screen. All right, Andrea, moderator Andrea, yes. How does that look on YouTube? Like the Zoom call? Here, can you show me? All right, everybody. This is our first time dealing with these technical difficulties and trying to figure out this new way to do this. So that's exactly what I wanted. That's awesome. All right.
Am I staying here?
Yeah, yeah. Or well, I mean, not right here, because I can hear your phone. But all right, let's get a mic check real quick, and I'm going to introduce everybody. Mike, Hellywood Reporter.
Check.
Check. Copy. 1, 2. Okay. Pun, Jesse.
5, 5.
Okay. Stop to go, Tony.
Check, check.
All right, that's amazing. It's a miracle. I prayed this would happen, and here we are. So, okay, everybody, I'm really honored and privileged to have these three guys join me on my YouTube channel. So first, I'll just kind of go in order from where they are here on the icons on the Zoom channel. We've got Mike Pack, who some of you, if you were on Twitter before the purge, might have seen his account. We've been friends on Twitter for a long time. Somehow we're both still on Twitter and still share each other's tweets and communicate back and forth a little bit. We've known each other for a while. General Flynn followed both of us, I believe, while he was still on Twitter. Mike is a 25-year Hollywood reality TV producer. Did I say that right, Mike?
Sure.
Okay, so worked in Hollywood in the industry, was privy to some information, saw some things, learned some things, and was one of the people that jumped out of there and decided to start talking about it and reporting on it. And that's awesome. So that's why he's here. Next, we have Jesse, the Punisher. Same thing on Twitter. If you guys were on Twitter and you are following me, you most likely followed Jesse, Punisher. On Twitter, he was purged from Twitter. We reconnected. Well, let's see. We still had each other's phone number, but we reconnected through social media on Telegram. He runs a Telegram channel called the Punisher War Room, where we all get together and we share information and we do research. Punisher is an amazing historian, a true historian, not the indoctrination history that we've all been fed from the time we started school. Possibly could be one of the guys that rewrites the history books. So when the school systems restart, some of the information that our children and grandchildren will learn will be what Pun rewrote. One of them. We've got Tony. Oh, and by the way, Pun never talks about this, but he actually is a former Marine, which means he's still a Marine, because once a Marine, always a Marine. But one of the rarest types of Marines, one, an officer, two, a pilot, flew Apache helicopters. If you've heard the few, the proud, the Marine, there are less Marines than any other branch in the military. Being an officer in the Marine Corps is very rare, and being a pilot on top of that is even more rare. So he did that. He was in the Marine Corps for 18 years, so we share some of that military service, that connection, and we've become friends over the past few years, and here he is. So next we've got Tony Stop to Go. Same thing on Twitter. Tony had a pretty big account on Twitter. A lot of people followed him. He researches and reports the truth also lived in the LA area, Hollywood and the surrounding areas, and when was in the music industry during those 2 decades that he lived there. Also saw a lot of things, experienced a lot of different things, and has reported on a lot of that different stuff. Stop to Go and Punisher and I have all gotten together and had long conversations about a lot of this different stuff. And, we're doing our best to be citizen journalists, digital soldiers, and, report the truth to you guys. So here we all are together on my YouTube channel. If somebody would have told me 5 years ago, I would have been doing this and presenting these type of people to you on my YouTube channel. I would have called you the conspiracy theorist, but here we are, and we're going to talk about some different things today that are some current events. We're gonna go over since Mike lived in Hollywood and worked in the TV industry. Tony was in the music industry. I was kind of in that industry a little bit north of them, spent some time in LA in the music industry as a photographer with bands and stuff like that. So we've all got all three of us have a little bit of that in common. So we're going to talk about Hollywood. We're going to talk about that area and some of the things that go on and the experiences that these individuals have had. And then we're going to go into the hot topic right now of Lynn Wood. So in these chat rooms that we're in, I speak on the Punisher War Room, another channel called In the Matrix with Jeff Peterson, and Lynn Wood comes up a lot. Lynn Wood has spoken on Matrix, I believe. No, I think he was on Punisher's channel actually. Is a friend of Jesse's. We'll just say before we get started, a couple people in this room have some differing opinions about Lynn Wood, and we decided, like Tony said earlier, we're all adults and we can talk about topics that we may disagree on or have different opinions on, and that's exactly what we're going to do when we go over the topic of Lynn Wood. So we've got Hollywood, Lynn Wood, and with this group, who knows what else we'll be talking about. It should be a great interview. I hate to even say interview. It'll be a great conversation. And, I just want to say thank you guys all for being here. Oh, disclaimer. Let's see, we talked about this earlier. Some of the folks that are watching this may be locked in on some of their opinions or what they believe or what they believe. So just stay open-minded. Don't attack anybody for their opinions. We're going through a brainstorming process right now, which is what you do. Actually, this will resonate with you, Mike. When you create a timeline for a, say, animation or a TV show or movie script, you brainstorm through the process. You throw ideas around. Everybody processes that information, and then you come up with the not always the final, but you come up with more information to process to come to your own most plausible conclusion for you. So welcome, guys. Thank you for being here.
Hello.
Hello. All right. Okay, oh, you're welcome. All right, let me turn this volume up just a little bit so I can make sure that everybody hears you. Well, all right. Volume is all the way up now. So, all right. We're about to get started. This should be exciting. Hollywood.
Can I add on the disclaimer just for 1 second?
Please.
Yeah. Now, what we're going to do here is not in any way, shape, or form causing division. Like you said, it's just simply us actually giving our opinion on, from what we've researched. And at the end of the day, we're all four of us are going to come together as friends, shake hands, and still continue on the right path. The only thing is I think there's a lot of misinterpretation on a lot of things, and that's what the whole point of this interview is to kind of clarify for the audience so that they can actually understand certain points of view from subject A and subject B. So we're not here to cause division. We're not here to create an argument. This is not a bloodshed. We're just grown adults grown patriots having a conversation so that we could all come together as one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said. I want to add to that real quick. Not just what we've researched, because a lot of us here have personal experiences with things that we've experienced on our own that maybe nobody else has, that there isn't an article written about, that never became news. And so we combine those two things, our research and our personal experiences, to come up with what we bring you guys. So I just wanted to add that, and that's it.
Hey, Michael, furthermore, people can read the same headline and take two different things from it. And same when they actually read the context of the article, you can read the entire context of the article, and so can someone else, and you can both take two different, takeaways from what you thought was context. So it's just worth, like, the conversation that we're going to just take on is, whether or not that we agree or with one another's opinion, we're just going to try and find the context in the middle, because that's really what it is. When you have two conflicting truths, you try to find the middle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. So first topic, Hollywood. Why does Hellywood Reporter call himself the Hellywood Reporter?
I think it was like this. I just always saw it as Hellywood at the end. I'd say it more towards the end of my career, and I don't know. There's this thing about exposing Hollywood. You're not exposing Hollywood. Hollywood's like this dreamland, this fake world. It's truly Hollywood. I mean, through and through, it's the Wild West. People get away with everything out there. People get away with murder, rape, money laundering. Everything is just a money laundering operation there for the most part. If you're talking on a high scale, if you're talking about films, if you're talking about television, if you're talking about television networks. So as I got farther in my career and I actually started selling TV shows as a creator, you get into that position where you're higher up. So people want to test you. So you find out a lot of information, and you're either going to say, yeah, I can live with this, or you're going to walk away from it. And I ended up choosing to walk away at some point. So the Hollywood Reporter is kind of it's probably like a little vengeful. I'm actually going to change that at some point. Because I definitely don't want to be vengeful, but at the start of exposing all this, I dreamed of exposing this stuff forever. That's all I ever wanted. So now I have my chance, but I think the vengeful thing is you kind of gotta go away. It'll cloud your judgment. So, but
it takes a while.
I don't know. It's weird.
It takes a while.
People call you Hollywood or Helly, and it's like,
it takes a while to forgive sometimes, so that's completely understandable. They tried to suck me into that whole situation too when I was a photographer in the music industry and modeling and bands and all that stuff. And wait, I said music. That was kind of redundant.
It's like overnight. It's like overnight because you work so hard. You work 100-hour work weeks, and then you should make it, but you never do. And then all of a sudden, there's one time you meet the right people, and they're actually the wrong people, but you think they're the right people. And next thing you know, you sell 5 or 6 TV shows in a row, and you don't have any money to really show for it. I mean, you're making a salary, you're making a little bit of a bonus here and there. But then you're like, wait a minute. What's really going on here? But then it didn't matter about the money because you got to go to parties. Everyone knows your name. You go to places and people pulling you aside saying, "Hey, are you like that?" And that's what my life was like by 2000. I'd say 13, 14. It was a wild ride, And then people want to ask you questions. People infiltrate you in the sense of wanting to see to see if how dark you can get and what kind of bad stuff you'll do. And a lot of it has to do with they're probably trying to compromise you.
Yeah. And I noticed when I was getting approached, they never come straight up to you and ask you straight out, hey, are you willing to do this? Are you willing to do this? They basically present you with opportunities to do different things, to basically see if you'll jump in and do that on your own and let you kind of progress through that on your own. I've
been at parties where there's and where there's coke plates rolling around. And, hey, I had my fair share of party in Hollywood. I can say that, but I remember one time I looked next to me at this party and I go to this girl. I go, I'm sorry, how old are you? She's like, Why? I go, just tell, it's okay. Just let me know. She was 14. I went, oh my God, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
It felt like there were times you'd go out and you had people, or even girls that were maybe even that were younger than you, because in the clubs, they don't care. They don't care if a girl's what they think is hot. I think she'd be 17 getting in the club. There were tons of times where there were underage girls at the clubs too.
Yeah, and that could have been one of those covert tests, without you even knowing it right there. That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
So stop.
A lot of people, they're crazy out there, and it's really funny, and they brag about their crimes. They brag about how much they get away with. And when I say they, I actually pretty much mean like CIA or high-level executives.
Tell us a little more about that when you say CIA or high-level executives. So
okay, so I'll tell you a couple of stories, and when I say, okay, so there's CIA, and then there's also like super high-level LAPD, believe it or not, that are on a level that you can't imagine, okay? When I say that, what's that TV show with John Boy? What's that called? Ray Donovan?
I do not know.
Okay, Ray Donovan. John Boy does a show. He's Ray Donovan. They're like cleaners. They try to clean up messes that celebrities find themselves in, try to scrub the internet. Well, it's some Irish family, and it's total bogus. But the way it works is like a lot. Trump. I always liked him, but he was doing a show about kids and like finding missing children, probably being abused or missing, and they're going to find them. So he enlisted the help of a CIA contractor. And I was doing research. I was doing kind of like a secretive Twitch show for a CBS reality program, primetime. And I needed someone who could do killer research. So I talked to my buddy who was running I think at that time he was running Survivor. And he's like, yeah, I got this guy. He's a CIA contractor. You got to use him, man. He's really great. I go, well, have you guys found kids in the show? He's like, yeah, we got a 4-way bidding war. He's like, you want to see the pilot? And I saw the pilot. I'm like, this is fake, and this is like a bogus story. Like, and you got a 4-way bidding war on this, but the concept is so great. Well, the 4-way bidding war turned into nobody wanted the show because obviously they didn't want to blow the operation. So this guy, I think he was just put into kind of, oh, I think I'm close on this one. And he claimed he was a remote viewer, and he made all these crazy claims. And he's actually like, I almost felt sorry for him because I just didn't find him to be that smart. But when I met him, I had all this respect for him. So I hire him. I get the network to agree to pay him. And I'll tell you what it was. It was $2,300 a week. And he would show me like, I don't know. And this is what he showed me off his computer. This is like 2004. He showed me like these like satellite images from space, like Google, but almost like a live video HD that he had access to. I think it would pop up in his trunk, and he had these crazy silver guns, like all the, and all this stuff. And he would claim that he was going on all these missions, and I was just, whatever. So I hired him, and I didn't. He was very much useless to me, to be honest with you. And that's what you wonder. You'll get that they're not. When you hire these people, they're not really meant to help you in whatever your journey is, especially if that's the kind of stuff that they were doing back then. Like I said, this is 2003, 2004. Other things, I mean, if I tell you this one story, this is a little crazy though. Okay, but I'm just gonna tell you. Obviously I can't prove this, but this is an interesting story. It was a super, pretty high level, maybe retired LAPD. I don't know what it was, but I was working with him on security. He was doing security for me and on this show because it was like one of those shows where you had to keep people highly separated and involved standards and practices, which actually like a lot of the networks took really serious in the game show spectrum. It was really important to keep people separated in certain things or keep certain things quiet. And, so he's like, I gotta go, I gotta go do this thing. I gotta go to Colorado. I'm like, okay. And I remember like the network people that I was working with were kind of upset that he was bolting on us because it was that important to our show or to what we were working on the project. So he comes back and go, hey, how was Denver? He's like, want to know what I was doing? I go, well, I mean, if you want to tell me, but I don't want to pry. He's like, I was handing off a bag of money to Kobe Bryant's accuser. This is before the case happened. So I didn't know anything of this stuff. All of a sudden, boom, the case hits. And all of a sudden he's accused of all this stuff. And that thing lasted forever. And that's where Lynn Wood came in. Like to the utmost. I mean, probably the most attacked person ever in Hollywood, and at least in the sports thing, because he was that much of a hotshot. Nobody comes out of high school, 17 years old, gets a pro contract like that. They were after him. They were trying to compromise him. And I think that whatever he fought it, I'm going to tell you, this is the truth. This is true. He fought that for so many years to say, screw this. I don't want to. You know what? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be a part of this thing. And I tell you what, they continued to beat him down for so many years. And I don't know Kobe. I know, stories about him being definitely like that. And I don't even say anything bad about him because I don't know him enough to do that. But I just know what people were trying to do to him and where people are trying to, and the extortion. It becomes a total extortion thing, and then it becomes a complete blackmail operation. And it happens to so many people. And, we've seen some Q posts where it says, a lot of people were compromised, a lot of good people were compromised. And I can honestly say, I know that story. I've seen it,
So
by the time I started making money and got somewhere, I was too smart, too old, too old and too wise to be compromised. I've definitely been in some crazy situations. As a matter of fact, I'm just to wrap this up real quick. That CIA guy that I told you about that worked at Mark Burnett with the missing kids and it was all BS, that guy just reached out to me a month and a half ago off of a work email that he shouldn't have had. That was not the hardest thing to find, but he found it. And he seemed a little panicky, guys. He's like, Mike, I need you, respond to this message ASAP. I was like, holy crap.
Now, okay, I've got a question for you about the CIA guy. How did you know that person was CIA? Because in my experience, there's some folks I've worked with in the past that I'm pretty damn sure is CIA, but that's the last thing that they would have ever told me. Did they just tell you that they worked for the CIA, or did
LA CIA is a totally different clown operation. These guys are braggers. These guys are dying for you to know all the stuff that they do. And it's like, and they're everywhere, man. I mean, like my landlord was a CIA CIA contractor as well, and he was really old. But what did he? They put him into a writing position in Hollywood. He wrote for some big TV shows in the 70s that were really popular. And, the guy's a shit writer, to be honest with you. I mean, it's insane. And these guys are like pretty much I knew a ton about my landlord. I mean,
all right, wait, time out. Hold on, we completely lost our connection right in the middle of talking about the CIA. I'm sure it's just coincidental, right? Hold on a second. I want to make sure. Andrea, moderator, are we back on? What's that? Okay. How about now? Says broadcast is still going. All right, we are okay. Sorry about the interruption. That wasn't me. That was, I don't know, maybe the guys you were just talking about, or DARPA, or somebody, or just a coincidental glitch in the system, right? All right. Sorry. Carry on, Mike.
Yeah. So I mean, that's your. I got a million other stories that I could. It was actually billions of dollars into the Hollywood thing. And you know what he would do? They would actually have Leonardo gift him like Marlon Brando's Oscar, or like these Rolexes that are insanely expensive, or Picassos that were worth tons of money. And then Leo was to then, this is beyond the movie part. This is beyond the movie laundering part. So then Leo was to go and have these things auctioned off, but the cachet of having Leo owned it would even be more money. So that's how a lot of the money laundering operation works, especially in the high priced auctions. Now,
so wait, hold on, I gotta stop you, man. So is this stuff that you like witnessed personally, or is this just kind of common?
This stuff is all over the internet. I mean, if you look for it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Hollywood Reporter even did a piece on it. It's insane. But if you put Leonardo DiCaprio, Malaysia, money launderer, you'll see everything.
Okay, so this is stuff that the people can research and is out there.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not telling you anything that's not in print, and it's actually not hard to find at all. It was just one of those stories that, like, and there's multiple articles on it.
Well,
that's the minimum of it.
I was going to say,
who's it in print by?
Oh, we got Hollywood, not Hollywood Reporter, but the Hollywood Reporter. Let me see real quick. So we got Leonardo DiCaprio.
Now, are these credible resources?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a 100% credible story. I read about it too.
I got Hollywood Reporter. I got The Guardian. I got LA Economic Times of India. I got Reuters. I mean, there's a million of them. I'm going to pop one. It's called 1MDB. Malaysia drops charges against Wolf of Wall Street producer.
Oh, this was a few years back, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. When Wolf of Wall Street came out.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys,
so
hold
I'm
on.
going to drop one in right now.
Okay, are you on
one of many?
Are you on the YouTube live chat where you can drop that in the chat, or where are you dropping that?
I'm going to drop it in the Telegram, or is there a YouTube?
Yeah, I have this streaming live on YouTube right now. But if you want,
I'll drop you there too.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of multitasking. We're on a few different places here. So for those of you watching, if you're watching on my YouTube channel, this is also.
What's your YouTube channel, then?
Just my name, Michael Barton.
Okay.
So for those of you watching on the YouTube channel, this is also being streamed live on the Punisher War. Good Lord, easy for me to say. It's being streamed live on the Punisher War Room on Telegram right now. If you haven't visited that channel, it's definitely an interesting channel to go in and be a part of. You can speak in the chat room, or you can just listen to the information being shared. So that's what he was referring to when he said he was going to drop the link.
This is one for Brad.
Can you drop the link for my channel? And the only thing is, we're going to have to stream a little bit later because I forgot about one of the shows that is actually taking place right now. So it'll be a little bit later, just maybe a couple hours later.
No problem. I digress. It's not being live streamed on the Punisher War Room, but it will be later.
Oh, that's cool, man. So am I just dropping these in the live chat?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I dropped just 2, but there's a ton of them, man.
Okay.
There's a ton of them. It's so funny. I'm just looking right now, and I didn't realize this is kind of news to me, but this one, it says something like, this is great. What does it say here? Leonardo DiCaprio gives grand jury testimony in Asia. Something about him. Oh, DiCaprio returns Brando Oscar. So he returns us. I said, you know.
So now I have a question for Tony. Tony, you lived in that area for a long time. You were in the music industry. You were around a bunch of different people like that. Do you have some similar experiences in that area?
Yeah. I just saw a lot of weird stuff. Like he said, you see, when you first get there, you're drawn there to the same things that makes everyone go there for vacation, or they come in on the tour buses and stuff. And after living in Hollywood for a while, one of my favorite things to do was just to go down to where the tour buses let everyone out on Hollywood Boulevard and watch people's faces, because what you see on TV and what you experience on the street is 2 completely different worlds.
Totally different.
And one smells a lot like piss. And so that's the first thing that hits these people when they get off the bus. And that's it's really funny because they think glamour, and they think, stars and celebrities, and they must live in glamour, and they get to Hollywood and they start walking there. They want to see the Walk of Fame and take photos of it and sit on it. And it's like, you do not want to sit on that. You don't even want to touch it. I wouldn't touch it with I have to touch it with my shoes when I'm there. And that's enough. That's already, you want to detoxify your shoes.
Yep. Yeah,
I saw a couple things, I was at a party one time with a very well-known producer, and I can attest to the blackmail kind of stuff that goes on there behind the scenes. There was a group of people trying to film him without him knowing, and they were actually friends of his. So they had worked their way in to be able to try and hang out, and then the next thing you know, they were trying to film him, in any type of precarious position they could use to hold over his head. And, thank God he's just a good guy and just wasn't into any of that kind of shit. And what's even funnier is his friends around him noticed that and showed him that, hey, these people are filming you. And he was just he was hurt more than anything. He was just why would people pretend to be my friends to come in here and try to hurt me? And it's just weird. And there's a lot of that goes on. It's a real cesspool of people who will do anything to become famous, or take advantage of someone who's got money, or try to throw someone else under the bus to get one step ahead. It's a lot of that. And once you're there long enough, it just beats you up, and you realize there's a lot better of a life to live outside of that world,
Yeah, I've literally heard somebody say this before. There's no friends in Hollywood, at an auction, or in a poker game.
Facts.
Well, the auctions are really funny because you set up, there's been a lot of stories where they set up false bidders for the record.
Oh yeah,
to get the price up really high, so that way the money laundering operation is.
Yeah, those are those are the shills of the auction world. So yeah, they're everywhere.
It's all connected. It's all connected. I'm just kidding.
It is. It is. The more you dig and the more you try to disprove that, it's this is a big old web that has been spun for a long time, and we're unraveling that right now. So that's what
it's crazy. I'll tell you a story. This is just my experience. Okay, and this will give you an idea of what the China thing was really doing in Hollywood. You guys may have both experienced a little bit of it, but so I worked for a company, and I don't think they were doing all that well. But I ended up selling 2 TV shows, and one of them, I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty sure it profited probably 15, 20 million just off the profit margin, because it sold to 30 countries. And it ran for 3 seasons, and it was the highest rated show on that particular network for all 3 seasons that it aired. It beat every show that it was up against. So, and then another one that sold to every country in Asia and in America, but just only ran 1 season, but still had a long-term direct TV deal. Both shows had that. So in the end, he made a ton of money. That company sells to a big movie production company for, let's just say, and I can't quote the exact price, but pretty sure it's $100 million. Okay, so, but these guys get to still run the company and take a salary, but they just made like $2 right? Well, kind of. They sell to that company. That company holds on to this production company for a year and a month. They sell to China, to a group called the Wanda Group, which is buying basically everything in LA, every production company, and they sell to Wanda for, let's say, 175, 200 million. Now, that company, that huge movie production company, just made a ton of money for no time. Now, the Wanda Group holds on this company, and they do this to tons of reality production companies. And they hold on to it and they keep the same guys running it and give them a salary. They run it for about a year, maybe a year and some change. They sell back to the guys that were running the business for, let's say, 10, 15 mil. You tell me that. Does that sound strange to you guys?
Yeah, a little bit. Sounds a little sus.
And guess what happened to me? The minute I started, I put them with a valuable property, intellectual property, something of real value. Boom, they sell, get rid of all the guys, keep all the women, get the tax breaks to sell on, so they look great on paper, and they fire you. There's no such thing. So talent is in my industry, my side of things, talent is useless. It's about something different. Like, it's all about, like,
ownership.
Being there.
I'm glad you said that. I want to say something to that, Mike.
Go for it.
How much of the dark side of Hollywood have you seen?
So I've had people come to me, not people. I just want to be 100% honest here because it's important. I've had someone kind of like, hey, I don't think you guys know this, but apparently, like, on the dark web, it's really sick stuff. Okay, so I'm just warning you. On the dark web, one of the most popular things apparently is like a rape of a younger girl and then slicing her throat. And usually this happens in a third world country apparently. Now, I didn't know about that, but I had this guy come up to me and say, yeah, I was part of this thing and they did this thing. What do you think of that? And I'm like, I think this guy's totally trying to get me to see if I'm down with the deep state. Like, I really think that I don't think that he was trying to confess this crazy thing to me that he was a part of. He said he was in a third world country. He was with a military guy and they did this. And not a third world country, I don't want to say, but I want to say it was like, I don't know if it was the Philippines or it was somewhere where, they purchased a girl and did that and sliced his throat. Now, the weird thing is I've heard that story after that, not by anybody directly to me.
Okay, so
wait,
you hold on. You heard this? You heard the story. You didn't see the video on the dark web, right?
Of course not. No, I've never seen anything like that. Okay. But no, then I was talking to some of my friends that work on a higher level of security and stuff like that. And I talked to my friend Chris from Patriot Productions, who I did an interview with. He says that, and he didn't even know that story that I told him. He said, it's so disgusting. And the number one thing on the dark web, and my people that I know tell me is exactly what I just told you. And I went, oh my God.
If I could back you for a second to verify what you're saying, there's a video you guys can find that I saw at the time that it came out. It was about 10 years ago, maybe a little less. It was the bassist of the band Scorpion, I'm almost positive.
Yes.
And he was, caught on TMZ coming out of a club, and they asked him, hey, you've been around Hollywood a long time. What's the craziest, stuff you've seen? And he didn't even hesitate. But his response is, it will rock you. he said, well, yeah, the craziest thing I've seen is you get invited to these parties out here in Hollywood and out and around the world with the very rich people who are very powerful. And they're basically murder parties, and that they basically, you know, they have a crowd that they gather to everyone comes and watches them murder somebody. And it's like, you know, and then they drag them off, and usually it's a child. And the guy who was asking the question was so shocked that he didn't even have to, I mean, he was fumbling over a follow-up. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, they caught up to him. And asked him again, hey, can you convey or can you expand on those parties that you were talking to TMZ about? And he had completely backtracked. Like someone got to him. He looked like he'd been scared half to death. Like he looked like he had lost weight. He looked like he had been tortured. I mean, the guy looked like a mess. And he straight up was like, I didn't say that. I never said that. And that didn't happen. And I don't know what you're talking about. And it was like, oh.
And that's at a super high level to be that way. Like, you know, just, you know, like Scorpions, like, you know, they're writers for CIA agents. Like, the Winds of Change was written by CIA out there, you know. I mean, it's like, so they were pretty, you know, it's so funny. Those kind of stories are, I mean, you almost have to, I'm trying to wonder, like, how high you have to be at that party.
I have to jump in here because when you mentioned what you did, the most popular thing on the dark web, the first thing that popped into my head was JonBenet Ramsey, because allegedly that's exactly what happened to her. So is it plausible for us to think that might have been streamed live on the dark web and that evidence is there somewhere? Now, the other thing that pops into let me finish this up real quick. The other thing that pops into my head is her dad was a contractor for Lockheed Martin. And when I was a little kid, my dad and I were driving across the Palmdale Desert, and for some reason, out of nowhere, I was probably in 2nd or 3rd grade, and he started explaining to me what a snuff film was. And if you guys don't know what that is, just look it up. I'm not going to explain it here, but it has some. I guess I can explain it. It's when it's basically when somebody is murdered and it's recorded, and rich psychopaths purchase that for entertainment. Now, here's the other weird thing. My dad worked for Lockheed Martin Skunk Works too. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Carry on.
Yeah, if I could give people a warning, do not look up snuff films online.
Thank you, Tony. Well, this one's like this one's where they slice the girl's throat. It's different than Benet. I think, did they strangle her?
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, very similar. And I mean, man. You know, that case is just insane. I mean, you know, we and I worked at Daytime Talk for 12 years, so that was a story that was always what we call rateable. Like, you're always going to get some ratings when you dealt with JonBenet.
Well, there's a lot of
the kids' pageants.
There's a lot of other cases that people could look at too that tie along a very similar line of what was happening at the time. One of them is Johnny Gosch and the whole Franklin cover-up. Another one is like Polly Klaas in California, who was kidnapped right around Bohemian Grove, and right around the time of, you know, their little, you know, cremation and care ceremony. So just weird stuff. So
is your father still alive? Your father, the Lockheed Martin. Martin.
You're asking me? Yeah. I'm sorry, man. I thought I was going to sneak away for a bio break while you guys were talking. No, he's not. Actually, him and I.
Is it rude to ask how he passed?
I'm going to tell you the story right now. I've talked about this quite a bit on my YouTube channel. So we didn't spend a lot of time together. Basically, when I was growing up, my mom raised me at about 2 years old. They divorced. And we ended up moving away from Lancaster to Valencia, then eventually Fresno, and so on. And I saw my dad maybe once every couple of years. I hardly talked to him on the phone. And then when I got older and I had kids, I just said to myself, you know what, damn it, my kids are going to know their grandfather, whether he likes it or not. So I made the effort, kind of like I made this interview happen, regardless of all the technical difficulties we had. I made it happen to where we started to go visit him. And I would go hang out with him. I was married at the time. I'd take my wife, and we started to kind of build a relationship. And we'd sit out in the backyard, and you know, he was still in Palmdale, California, which is near Edwards Air Force Base, Plant 42, all of that, where he had worked at one time, a couple times. Anyway, where I've trained at personally. And we'd be sitting in the backyard, and we'd just be hanging out, having a beer or whatever, and planes would be flying over. And I've always liked to watch planes fly over. You know, I'm an Air Force guy, always been looking up, growing up around Edwards Air Force Base. And once in a while, one would fly over without lights. We could hear it, but we couldn't see it. And he'd say, that right there is called black ops. And he started kind of telling me some stuff. He wasn't telling me all kinds of classified information or, you know, stuff like that. But he was talking to me, building relationship. And the last time I went to go visit him, we were on our way to Palmdale, and I called him. I said, "Hey, I'm about an hour out. I'll see you when I get there." And he goes, "You can't come to my house, man." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Because my wife said that if anybody shows up here, she's going to shoot me in the head." I went, "Well, we definitely don't want that to happen. So maybe I should meet you at a restaurant." You know, and I'm just kind of joking around because that's a pretty morbid thing to say, but I wanted to keep it light and not make a big deal about it. So I literally couldn't go to his house. We drove 3 hours to go visit him, and my wife and I ended up having to meet him at a restaurant. So we sat down, we had dinner, we had a beer, and he was like, "Okay, well, it was good seeing you. You can't stay at my house. You can get a hotel if you want, but." And I said, "No."
Is it because his wife was that crazy, he said?
Well, yeah. She literally told him that if anybody comes to this house, that she's going to shoot him in the head. So fast forward a little while. My timeline's a little messed up from the trauma I've been through. That kind of happens when you're affected by nonstop trauma, I guess. It messes up your timeline. So anyway, fast forward a little bit. I'm on drill duty with the Air National Guard. It's our weekend that we're supposed to be out there. I'm out there training, and it's my second day of drill. And I get home, my mother meets me at the front door of my house, which I own my own house. She's usually not at my house waiting for me when I get home. So still in my uniform. She opens up the door, meets me at the front door, and says, "Did you hear what happened? Did you hear what happened to your dad?" And I was like, "What? I mean, I just got home from work. How would I have heard anything that happened? Nobody, in the family really contacts me." So I'm walking in the front door, and she goes, he died. He's dead. But the way she said it was almost like not the typical way I would assume that somebody delivers devastating information to somebody. So I just kind of walked by her, and I walked into my garage to kind of go be by myself and process the information. And she followed me out and said, "Did you hear it? Did you hear how he did it? Did you hear how he did it?" And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not a smart man, but did I hear how he did it? He must have killed himself." And then she said, "Yeah, he shot himself in the head." And she repeated it a couple times. He shot himself in the head. He shot himself in the head. And so that's how my dad passed away.
You're the third person that I know that's a male that has a similar story, almost like one story exactly like you, and then another story where he was given up for adoption, and he ended up finding his father, and then he finally went to go see him, and then 3 weeks later, gone. But all three,
yeah,
same.
It was impeccable timing, the way that happened. He was sick. He was sick. He had lung cancer. He was fighting through that. So that's a plausible kind of thing that he would have just said, "Okay, I'm tired of dealing with this," and then actually committed suicide. But
and that could happen.
It could, anything's possible. But just given the circumstances of all the other things that I've been through, and the timing, the thing that I always say that kind of tells us the story when we go through things like this is the timing and repetition. And it was the timing of the whole thing and the way the information was delivered to me that I just don't buy the suicide story. So, but anyway, sorry. Anytime I get asked a question, it ends up being kind of a long answer because there's no short way for me to.
And it should be. Thank you. I appreciate answering, man. I'm so sorry for that you had to go through all that.
Yeah, I'm sorry too, Michael. I really am. But there is one thing I do want to get to because I know we're kind of going into some time here. So, and unfortunately, it is the subject that we talked about. So, I want everybody to get ready for this. And this is about the subject of Lynn Wood. So there's a lot of different interpretations that's been said about Lynn over the past several days. I know personally him on a personal basis. Stop and Go knows his history on a research basis. And so, Mike, tell us what your thoughts are about Lynn and how do you see him in this movement?
Well, I guess for me, it's a little bit different than what other people, I know of him from a lot of a complete different perspective. You know, he didn't just pop up as a patriot in my life. You know, I mean, I knew the case of the Kobe thing. I was kind of I knew about things about that. I knew about the Ramsey stuff by working in Daytime Talk. And then when I heard he was representing the Salmon case, I was like, well, that's unique. And look, I don't want to, like I said, we don't want to create any kind of division here. But there's a lot of people that kind of, I want us to almost worship that guy. If you say anything bad about Lynn Wood, people are automatically attacked, like really, really crazy. And that's the thing, I really don't want to say anything bad about him, but there's a lot of irregularities, and it's been like that forever, where
that's fine. That's the whole point of this conversation, is to air out our dirty laundry so that we could give the audience a chance to see where we stand on each point. Because if we don't speak about it, nothing will be resolved. Yeah, and especially it being my friend Lynn Wood, I have to speak about it, because if I don't, then I'm not doing him justice in defending him.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, if you're friends with him, but if you're, I guess we'll see how where the Lynn Wood thing goes. I mean, and here's the thing: anybody could be a bad guy, a good guy. We could be, we could have the greatest of patriots in our political system, or they could be like a complete show, or you can have someone that you absolutely hate on the left that's actually totally playing the game and being one of the greatest actors in the world. So it's like, at the end of the day, we really don't know who's who in this thing. But Lynn Wood's got a huge fan base. I think he's done really a remarkable job getting people to like him. I don't know how that happened, really, because I don't get it. I mean, that's just me. But
I can give you a clue of how he got what you consider to be where you say a large percentage of them just believe him. Yeah. A lot of people do a lot of research. Me being included, I can tell you Plen's the same. Michael the same too. We're I wouldn't call it a unique breed, but it's definitely a group of people who like to do the research. And he's unafraid to say things publicly that we know to be true through our research. And for instance, he gained, I'm sure, a lot of followers the first time around when he mentioned saying Epstein was still alive. I'm sure he got a lot of followers and a lot of attention when he talked about Chief Justice Roberts being connected to that. He got a whole lot more attention just recently when he mentioned, I guarantee you it was global attention, when he mentioned the Bushes and the Clintons and the Obamas and the Bidens being connected, and the Vatican and the House of Windsor and everything being connected to child sex trafficking. And the simple fact that none of those people launched immediate lawsuits, defamation lawsuits against him, tells you a whole lot about, who's telling what truth there. And I think that the reason why people are siding with him less because of his name or his, and more because of, his body of work, one, and two, where he stands on a lot of the issues of the day, which are very scary to stand on. You're not the first to come after him. I mean, go look at anyone in any news story right now. Everyone's trying to hammer on him. So I'm always open to information. I'm willing to tackle any information, whether I agree with the information or not. I love disseminating it. So feel free to drop any sauce or links or anything, and I'll disseminate it with you on the fly.
Well, I got so for a defamation, libel, slander attorney to be posting stuff about articles with Timothy Holmseth, posting stuff that, that's just insane.
So I will agree with you on that. But if you're talking about the post that I think you're talking about, he specifically prefaced that with, I asked that you read each of my tweets carefully and describe or decide if information conveyed demands that we size up every lie being revealed. So he prefaced that pretty purely the same way you or I would preface it. Hey, do your own research, find your own discernment, and ask God to guide you. Pretty much,
Sure. But you wonder why he's not. I mean, the stuff he says, like this is kind of after the fact, and he was getting a lot of stuff from Code Monkey. But the one thing that really got me, you guys, and I gotta say, I had an issue with this because I really believe in the law and order process that we need to restore America. And I've been posting these on the Punisher War Room chat here. I wish I could post it on your YouTube channel, Mike, but they don't let you post photos. But they let them in, which, that could be, we know that already, but get the firing squad ready, Pence goes first. I mean, inciting that is just hard for me, man.
So
I can't get behind that, dude.
Context. Let me give you context. Did you watch the Kavanaugh hearing?
Yeah.
So did you catch the part about Johnson versus Eisentrager, which Lindsey Graham fired off?
Say that again?
Did you catch the part about Johnson versus Eisentrager, which is what Lindsey Graham specifically asked Kavanaugh about?
Yeah. Now they
details the law of armed conflict, which is a wholly separate set of laws when it comes to criminal justice, which you and I are all about, upholding the law.
But this is trial by law. We gotta trial by public is
hey, and believe me, it is not under the law of armed conflict. That's what Lindsey Graham was getting across. The law of armed conflict in the Johnson versus Eisentrager case, which is they found a Nazi enemy combatant working against America, and they arrested him, and they tried to figure out, he was trying to overthrow the government. They tried to figure out what to do with him because certain Americans have certain rights.
That's fair, but trial by look what happened in Chicago to.
But he didn't say let's have a trial by firing squad.
But he says, but I'm seeing trial.
He said get the firing squads ready. And that's different. That's different. Okay. And military firing squads, believe me, are necessary when it comes to treason.
Okay, I have a question before we go too far. I want to give the audience some context of who Timothy Holmseth is, and I have a question for myself too. So when Lynn Wood shared information about Timothy Holmseth, was it positive information or negative information? What was the scenario?
No, he's promoting an article by Timothy Holmseth. Promoting stuff that's not been ever proven. And hey, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything about Mike Pence. But I can tell you this: the stuff he was promoting was stuff that he was getting from Code Monkey, which was total BS stuff that was bunk. That was completely. And I hate to say the word debunked, but a lot of us researchers were proving that he was trying to promote the Pence Ryan little
25th Amendment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll be honest
on that.
I'll be honest with you, just coming from a purely historical perspective, if there is ever a vice president who knowingly works with black hats per se, just hypothetically, and tries or talks about recording the president behind his back without his knowledge, you'd have to have some serious grounds to do that. And if you look and judge based Trump on his 4 years of being president, and so obviously he wasn't the threat that would have been necessary for that, what exactly were they scared of, and why would they have even begun to talk about something like that? In those cases, for historical precedents, we definitely have to be it's a slippery slope. You have to be very careful about that, but obviously you leave that up to the determination of the public and the people, and also then if it was treason, the military.
Let me quote this real quick from Lynn Wood. This is from him himself. It says, "I am receiving information today raising questions about the credibility of Timothy Holmseth." He says, "I do not know Holmseth. I received the link of the article from a trusted source and a friend, and I posted it. I do not know Holmseth was the author. I leave the credibility of the content up to the reader." What does that say?
It basically says, don't shoot the messenger, shoot the message. That's what he's saying.
So I have to
Hey,
tell
Jim,
everybody.
please-
I have to
please
tell
say that
everybody
after that.
who Timothy Holmseth is. All of you guys know and have done all your research. For those of you watching that are trying to learn some new stuff, Timothy Holmseth was a journalist, I believe, in Minnesota. He wrote some articles about trafficking, etc. And it's kind of in a slander battle, it seems like, with a guy named Craig Sawyer, who's a former Navy SEAL, and they're both calling each other certain things, and so there's that going on. But yeah, do some research on Timothy Holmseth. I've watched some of his videos, and he actually was explaining some very similar things to what I've experienced as far as, you know, home break-ins and a lot of malfunctions with technology, we'll just say, and cars following and stuff like that. So anyway, I just wanted to let the audience know who that is. Carry on, guys.
Yeah, with what I just said, what I was saying is that Lynn Wood actually said, like what Tony said, don't shoot the messenger. He's sitting there saying that Holmseth put that out there.
He says that after Craig Sawyer told him that it was BS. It was after Craig Sawyer had to publicly tweet him and say, "Oh, hey, you know, that guy's bullshit, man." You know, and they go, "Oh yeah, man. Okay, we're cool, man." You know, they went back and forth, and you know, and like I said, I really don't want to sit here bashing Lynn Wood, but I just have I guess we all have different perspectives. And I just posted another thing on the War Room chat of the Pence. He talked about the Mike Pence Ryan plan to run for president. So I did a whole thread on.
Well, Mike, let me ask you this: does it sound like Lynn Wood was attacking Holmseth?
No, see, he was like promoting him. He was promoting a clown. When I say clown, I mean this is a guy that if you look into his background, it's hard to see what's real and what's not real. But he claimed to be a best-selling or a award-winning author. Not true. He's written for his own website, and it's really, and he infiltrated Phil McConnell, and that's kind of how people started believing in him, because I think at that point people really believed in Field. Field did some really interesting stuff with 9/11. Field had a podcast that was blowing up.
But if you go back and look at that post, does it really look like he's promoting him?
And it does. I mean, the ones that I absolutely, we stopped. He was passing on false info, though. He's passing on info that we've all proven 2 years ago, and many of us, with tons of facts, what is more likely to be
I
true.
don't know. I don't think so. To me, it sounds like he's saying that this is what I've been told, and this is
in your post, yeah. In that post, yeah. I agree that he's correcting himself, but as a libel slander attorney, you think a libel slander attorney would even promote anything that is even remotely not fact checked on Twitter?
Mike,
you've actually already answered my question.
Yeah,
he's the best information attorney in the country. So would he willingly do that? No, he would not.
And Twitter is a different dog in and of itself in the battle. But when it comes to something that he was promoting, I mean, you've been on Twitter for what, 3, 4, 5 years, something like that, a couple of years. Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, we've all shared something or another along the lines that we found to be bullshit, and then we had to go back and rectify.
This kind of energy behind it, he's always made me nervous. He's made me nervous since. I gotta tell you, he's made me nervous since I've ever known, since Ramsey's. Elton Ramsey.
I've known about him since
Gary Condit too. That's a whole other issue. I just don't,
the Condit story was very weird. The Gary Condit story was very weird. But I was initially.
So how come every time I turn around, there's something weird with Lynn Wood?
Well, no, I go. Okay, I'll give you one. I go back to the Richard Jewell case, because the Richard Jewell case, Richard Jewell was someone they were ready to plant a big deal, like an Olympic, deal on him, and he was the hero of it, and they were trying to pin the whole thing on him. So when you think about what that really means and the powers that he was really up against, not just CNN, he was up against the forces that were feeding CNN. And he knew that.
But he's friends with all those guys.
I would say he's friendly. You got to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I'd have a few people there that I knew too, especially if I'd suit them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I just try to think from a place of rational perspective. That's all.
Yeah, and I like that. I think that's great. I think that we got to have this kind of discussion. I think it's so important.
Can I ask this real quick?
Yeah.
Can I ask this real quick? How many of you have actually spoken to Lynn Wood on the phone?
Not me.
Not me.
Negative.
How was your experience, Punisher?
Do you know the power in that man's voice, the passion in his prayer? Have you heard him pray? The first time I talked to him on the phone, he prayed to me over the phone. Have you ever heard a prayer so powerful that it would bring you to your knees to someone that you never ever met in your entire life? Does that sound like someone who is on the side of waiting? Just think about that.
I mean,
now, I will say that not all of us are the same way. Not all of us are the same way, but I am a praying man. I am a man of God. I may not always act like it. I know I have flaws. Michael knows that. He knows I got a hell of a temper. But
I felt what you felt, but I felt it differently. I felt that through Jim Caviezel when I saw Passion of the Christ. That was the most uplifting spiritual thing I've ever felt in my entire life. And I got a chance to talk to him on the phone right after that Twitter thing happened. And I got to say, I felt the exact same thing. It was like really one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had in my life. And how truly he is and trying to figure all this crap out.
Have you ever heard any of the things that Mel Gibson? You ever heard any of the things that Mel Gibson said about adrenochrome and blood, baby blood being the diamond currency of Hollywood, and how they came out and said that he was an anti-Semite when he came out and said that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's that. I mean, if that doesn't freak you out, I don't know what does.
Terrible, And they're still close.
Blacklisted. He was completely blacklisted. I think it was Robert Downey Jr. who came out at an award show and pleaded with the heavy honchos of Hollywood, please give him another chance. You gave me another chance, give him another chance. And that was right around the same time where he was doing Passion. And that's a big deal because he was bringing back Christianity into what had become a completely 100% satanic, industry.
Jim Caviezel told me that when he was hanging on the cross, he was he really got so sick and hurt, and I guess he got electrocuted up there, and he got
hit by lightning.
Yeah, and he was so crazy. I didn't even know that story, but I gotta tell you, when I see that film, I don't even, or any Mel Gibson produced film for that matter, it was Apocalypto. I swear, these films the guy's probably the most brilliant director. I don't know what it is, and then you have these brilliant people like Caviezel that's in it. And, I mean, you can't even tell the difference between Caviezel and that character. It's those are two different people. Mm-hmm.
Mike, tell us what else you can drop so that we could, talk about it.
I got a few things. So here's the other thing, guys. Everywhere I go, I turn around, there's Lynn Wood. I'm from Antioch, Illinois. You guys know where that's from? Where that is?
A suburb of Chicago?
Kyle?
Yeah, it's far north. It's where Kyle Rittenhouse apparently is from.
Okay.
So I started performing, doing, one of my friends, hey man, you need to perform and do these Back the Blue Trump rally events, So I would write songs with my guitar and stuff, and do do they know it's Gitmo time at all? And do this whole thing. It was really fun, right? So I started doing these things, and I started noticing that these people that were filming it were a little odd, and then they had criminal backgrounds, right? Okay. Yet the people that were filming it, or that were, they also happened to be at the same time. There were all these riots locally, the Chicago riot, the Kenosha riot, and they have all this media access in Chicago to the Tribune, to all the radio stations. And I'm like, how the hell are they doing this? And I noticed that they're working on the other end of things. They're part of this process, man. They were filming me. I was getting doxxed by local Antifa members here in Chicago. And, doxing all my stuff. I think they called me a Q-tard or something, which was funny. Yeah. But I was but these two people, and one of them, and here's the other thing. One guy who was this big, who was a reporter, he gets a job at WLS TV in Chicago, and he befriended me. So he's calling me. I just got this job at WS. I need you to make my record disappear. I'm like, who the hell do you think I am? Like, you need to I have a criminal record. Well, what's your criminal record? Like stalking and all this stuff, and voter fraud and all this stuff. I'm like, dude,
yeah, who do I look like? Who do I look like? Joe Biden?
I'm a former
guys.
Yeah.
What we need to get back to the topic.
We are. And this is where it comes in.
Okay.
Real quick. So all of a sudden I started noticing this whole world is fake around me. And then that same guy, we'll call him his name. We'll call him Jesus or Jesus, because that's his name. So Jesus is filming that. Jesus gets like this one-on-one interview with Rittenhouse from jail after he just filmed all those riots. What? How's that even possible? And then that same dude, Jesus, goes to infiltrates a wedding that is like at the Hilton in the suburbs here in Chicago. And these people aren't wearing masks, and he exposes all these people for not wearing masks. Do you see the way this game works? And then you have Lynn Wood behind Rittenhouse, which is confusing, and then you have that whole Fight Back Foundation with and Lynn Wood not allowing an audit for it. And this is just a little bit of the stuff that I have, and I'm going to put everything that I have on. I'll do a thread on it. I'll push this all on a thread. But the thing is,
hold on one second. Hold on a second. Who would be doing the audit for the Fight Back Foundation?
Somehow Wendy Rittenhouse, which I don't even know what's real in that whole story, to be honest with you. Wendy Rittenhouse's crime. I have an interview that I'm going to send out to you guys where she's saying he wouldn't allow the audit, and we wanted our money, and there's this whole process of who knows what on this thing, and somehow he wouldn't approve of the audit. And I don't know how that works. I think she wanted an audit and he said no.
Are you talking about the Adam Classfeld interview on the Apple podcast?
Yeah, which is chopped up.
Yeah, no, I got through a lot of that. I went to task on all that and on a lot of the different things that were being talked about with the Rittenhouse case. Because of that, I try to keep an ear to the ground with people, especially anyone who speaks.
And that guy's clearly on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, even though there's been moments where Lindsey Graham looks like he's on the right side of things, and then you find out he's not. Same with all of them. So you have to always hold a discerning ear to the ground. And so there were a few different points I saw them try to make on that I thought were pretty much easily disputable. One, when it came to
you gotta get to the end with all the audio.
Totally. I did. I got through all of that. That was the meat of the bones right there.
Yeah, the police reports are everything. And
even the police recordings, of the body cams and everything, they're very telling. But what I found to be the most telling when it came to the confliction, like the incentive to be upset and try to slander someone or make someone look bad. You had conflicting lawyers. One, so you have two different lawyers, both with conflicting ideologies, right? One is there to help them with the slander case against CNN. The other one's there with the criminal defense. They thought that they were entitled to the money Lynn Wood was raising. They felt that he needed to be very thorough in the Fight Back deal, saying this is not money for his criminal investigation, but this is money for his civil investigation.
Yeah, and Lynn Wood's defense, they started that foundation.
Yeah, totally.
Before.
Yeah, years before, exactly. So,
yeah.
And then
he wanted all that money, right?
And then here's a guy who worked with Lynn Wood, right? Who is a legal professional, right? This Dave Hancock, whatever his name is.
And real Navy SEAL too? He's the Navy SEAL?
He's a Navy SEAL too. So let me just weigh this up for you, and you tell me what your discernment says. Okay? He's supposedly a legal professional and supposedly a Navy SEAL, and you're telling me that when he says Lynn Wood says the word followers, he thinks he's Jesus because of the followers. And what's funny is like you and I both know that that's Twitter followers. I mean, you'd have to be a moron to think that he's calling himself Jesus. But he actually, in the actual interview, made that assertion with the actual quote, and they played the quote, and he's like, "Yep, he's calling himself Jesus." You have to wonder about anyone who talks about his own followers. It's like I've talked about followers. I don't think I'm Jesus.
Well, in the lawsuit, in the lawsuit that he has with his the ex-partners from his firm, they claim that they make the same claim that they, and I don't know how many, was it one or three? It's either one or all three of them make the same claim that, that he does say that he's the second coming of God and he's the perfect man.
Then they use the recording, right? And I listened to the recording that they used.
Yeah, the source
recording, right? And here's the source recording that they used to claim that. The source recording said, he said, God blesses me, and he has, since I was a young man, to see around corners. And he goes, and I've used that blessing my entire life to its fullest capacity. That was the quote that they used, that he said that God gifted him powers, that he's the second coming, supposedly. Now, what's funny is take that also into context. We all were blessed with the decision-making skills of right and wrong. We all were blessed with the ability to kind of go, gee, I might not want to take a step off that cliff right there, because if I do, I might fall down and die. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're all blessed with that.
Yeah, but he also goes on
some people are stronger than others.
Yeah, but he also goes on and says, since I was a kid, I was always be able to predict the future.
Come on, we've all said that. How many people in the Q movement right now have been like trying to predict the next day or the next month or the next year? Come on.
I must be the worst predictor ever, because I can predict. But I mean,
I'm one of the best predictors ever, because I never predict anything. That's one of the keys.
Okay, I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. I predicted 6 or 7 months ago that they would be testing the ballots with UV lights for watermarks. And there's literally
I heard you when you said that. I can vouch for you.
There's literally video footage of that happening right now. I put the video up on TikTok. They deleted it immediately. So I wonder if TikTok will do me a favor and put that video back up.
Okay, Michael, they actually just had a news story last night that was on mainstream news. I'll have to dig up the story and where it was released, but it basically was detailing how it's not for fingerprints. It's 100% for watermarks.
I saw it.
Really?
Recently. Yep.
Nice.
Watch the water.
Weird. I got my friend who's a military guy. Was a recon guy, and he told me the same thing months ago. I never wanted to say anything.
Sting operation.
He told me that his friend told him that they were part of that company that set that up, and I would never put that out there. But now that the cat's out of the bag, that's awesome. I'm so glad it's true.
Here, just to clarify what a lot of us do, that when we predict things ahead of time, we're not telling the future because we have some, well, not me, some kind of special ability. The elite, cabal, Illuminati, whatever the fuck you want to call them, they tell you what they are doing through signaling, through television, movies, songs, whatever, through social media. They let you know what's going to happen. It's called fair warning, or the Pharaoh's warning. And I've just gone through it for so long that I've learned to connect the dots that they go ahead and throw out there. And it's like learning a different language. So I saw what they were trying to project, and I just talked about it, and that's it.
It's funny. My name stopped to go when I started on Twitter. It was supposed to. I went to go type in a name, and I'd come up with "Stopped Believing the News" years ago, and it just shortened it to "Stop to Go," and I just was like, all right, that's good enough.
It's a pretty cool name, though.
I learned.
What's funny is this: the "Stop Believing the News" is really funny. The way that I approached reading the news for the last 10 years has helped me discern it. So instead of reading the newspaper, instead of reading the news article in question, before you even click on it, before you even read it, ask yourself why they even wrote it. What the hell intention they could possibly have for writing an article with that in mind? When they call all the conspiracy this or that conspiracy, why would you need to push that if it was already widely known that it's a conspiracy? Why would you need to push the word conspiracy if it was already widely known that it's a conspiracy, unless you were trying to change people's minds?
Do you have to admit to some sort of guilt, or this is the hard part for me to always understand. There's this admittance to get it's kind of like a vampire. Aren't you gonna invite me in? They gotta kind of invite themselves in by telling you something about them, because there's always some sort of like you said, there's some sort of little truth.
Yeah, they always give you an ounce of truth before they try to deceive you.
Is that part of a satanic or occultic?
Yeah, it's a part of splitting the mind. It's like a part of control. It's how they fracture you and keep you from the truth.
Yep.
Wow.
That's like the whole monarch. That's like the whole monarch programming.
Very familiar. Yeah, like I said, it goes all the way back to the Egyptians. It's called fair warning, not because it's fair, but it goes back to the Pharaoh's warning. They've been doing this for thousands of years.
It goes back to Pythagoras.
Here, so and kind of going back to Lynn Wood, just to kind of finish off the way I kind of hold down. When it comes to what we're up against in this world and how bad it is, I know a lot of us have had their glimpses of really how bad it is. When you deal with someone like who's the world's most prolific defamation attorney, but more specifically from America, right? And when that person says publicly those things that he said about those people being connected to child trafficking and them not having sued him yet, but instead they take that Gary Webb approach and they try to shoot the messenger. You know what I'm saying? Gary Webb was found with 2 bullets in the back of his head, and they officially ruled it a suicide. I want you to ask me, like, how is that possible? How do you shoot yourself in the back of the head and then reload your gun and do it again?
Yeah, that's impossible. Gary Webb was actually...
And then how does the medical examiner just happen to overlook that little anomaly?
Gary Webb was from Fresno. That's where I'm from.
Gary Webb was very uniquely, and it's kind of big he was the original Anon. He was the first journalist to ever be a mainstream journalist and take his notes of what he was reporting. In this case, it was Iran-Contra, and he put it on the internet for all the people just to discern his notes and his all of the different notations and sourcing he made from all the different documentation to read it for themselves. And it was getting over 20 million hits a day. That's why they killed him.
Yeah, and has been proven and backed up by Freeway Rick Ross, who actually was moving the drugs or selling the drugs in the LA area for the CIA, and he talks about it publicly on YouTube channels, on interviews, and all kinds of stuff. And he said,
I've actually met him, and he is a genuinely honest person when it comes to telling what the story of what happened to him, because he didn't even know who was really pulling his puppet strings until he got out of prison. And he credits Gary Webb as being the guy who told him the truth and got him to the truth and getting him out of prison.
Exactly.
When I mentioned Gary Webb, like he almost got teary-eyed and was like, yeah, like that's the guy right there. He's like my hero.
Yeah, he's one of my heroes too.
I do want to say real quick, is there any other topics or subjects that Mike want to share with us so that we can, talk about it? And
I have a couple. I have a couple.
I got a bad one.
I have a couple questions. If you guys saw me going through my phone just now, I was trying to go back to the Telegram direct messages. Several people sent me messages last night to ask Mike regarding Lynn Wood, and I cannot find them anywhere on my phone. I don't know if it's user error, but I wrote down a couple, and we already went over the first one. Somebody wanted me to ask. Oh wait, no. Sorry, I have 2. Somebody wanted me to ask you if you have tried to personally contact Lynn Wood, Mike. Don't shoot the messenger.
Okay, don't shoot if I say this, look, I'm exposing myself, and you know what, Punisher, you already know I sent you the documents. Like, and I'm just gonna be 100% honest, and this is what kind of broke my heart. And this will be the finals. I was trying to help a friend because some of us researchers may be actually better than we're dedicated. We put a lot of time into different things and trying to help people or trying to figure things out beyond the social media aspect of information. But I had a friend that contacted me after seeing a couple of my interviews, and he was the Hollywood manager to some pretty large scale comics, and he worked with some of the bad dudes at William Morris and bad dudes at CA, and if you want to talk about the Shapiro sides and the Emanuels, that kind of stuff. That's how big this guy was as far as being great as a manager and as a comic manager. And he got into partying, he got into having sex with hookers, and he was in Atlanta hanging out, and there was a prostitute that he liked, kinda. And he ended up getting her pregnant. and she was part of a pretty bad family. Okay, and when I say bad, I mean elitist slavery family, like, a lot of bad, like very bad stuff. But she was connected to Epstein's Island. This is the girl, and now he didn't know this when he got pregnant, but they did everything they could to get rid of him out of that life. And they actually framed him, like, and I know this guy quite well. He's a pretty honest guy. And they framed him. He went to prison for, like, for stalking. They had a restraining order on him, and they created that, and then they invited him over, and then they called the cops. So and they kept him in because it's a good old boys. And this is Atlanta. This is Marietta. This is right there. And they kept him locked up. I want to say, I don't know what it was, maybe 12, 13 months. It was a while. And
What charge did they get him for?
They got him for, I think, stalking, and he's just trying to get his daughter back. His daughter at that point, when I started working on this thing, which was a little over a year ago, she was 7 years old. He's been fighting ever since to trying to get her back, and he's reached out to her. And I'm just going to put this out there. This is just what he tells me. I can't verify this, so I'm going to just tell your audience I cannot verify this. But I believe, I trust my friend. He reached out to Craig Sawyer. Craig Sawyer says, have your local law enforcement deal with it. Well, that's kind of weird. Then he reaches out to our rescue with Tim Ballard. They start asking all these questions, and he's like, they were asking questions that I felt like I was being infiltrated. Like, I felt like they wanted to know what I knew. He's like, I've hired private investigators. He spent a lot of money. He made a lot of money, and he spent a lot of money on private investigators. They all get to a certain point and they get scared, and they won't help him. And then he works with me. I can't help him, which I'm really, it sucks. I've put it through to anybody that I've known that works in the higher level governments, military, anything. I've tried to push through. I've gotten nowhere. So he sees Lynn Wood on LinkedIn, and he reaches out to Lynn. This is what he tells me. And Lynn, he's so excited because Lynn friends him. Lynn agrees to his friend request. And then my friend goes, my friend's very put together in the sense that he's not going to sound like a psychopath too much about this, because it's going to, you're going to be very emotional when you're dealing with this. I need your advice. This is what happened. It's in Marietta, Georgia. What do I do? How do I get past this thing? How do I get my daughter back? And he said Lynn blocked him on LinkedIn after that. Now, that's what he says, right?
Now, I would imagine, just from my personal experience with LinkedIn, that when it comes to someone like Lynn Wood, he's probably not the guy handling the LinkedIn account. That's just my personal experience with high-profile people in their LinkedIn.
That's good to know.
And I've worked with a lot of, just like you, high-profile people. So they typically don't handle their own LinkedIn account. And when it comes to that,
that's a dick.
Yeah, no, well, that could have been exactly someone that worked anywhere under him or anything that would. And you got to look at it from that also perspective of, I get a lot of emails too. Even on LinkedIn, where I go to click on it just to be a good person and check the email, and it's like, and it starts off with, hey, can you please help? I'm in Uganda and I need yada yada yada. You know what I mean? It's like, before I even get halfway through that paragraph, I'm like, oh God, click out, next. And
this
it's like,
this wasn't like that though. I mean, that's like,
yeah, no, totally. But you can imagine. Can you imagine what someone like Lynn Wood gets? Like, we're not like, you and me are normal folks when it comes to like the amount of, like, even you more so than me when it comes to the amount of LinkedIn friend requests or messages or something you might get. When it comes to someone like a Lynn Wood, dude, they're gonna get like thousands daily.
But to get whoever blocked that, and you're right. I think you make a great point.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
like I said, I only try to look at it from like what's most reasonable. Like, what are the best odds support?
Okay,
hey, just like me, I get probably about 100 a day. 100 a day.
And that's just pun, yeah.
Well, you're a Punisher, man. You're like the man. It's different.
Oh yeah.
You're awesome.
Okay, so I'm just I'm getting that the answer to that was yes, you have tried to contact Lynn Wood in kind of a roundabout way.
Not me, and I can't see. That's the thing. I can't vouch for. I hate saying. I didn't want to even bring up that story, but
totally.
You call me the truth master, whatever that is. So
I'm just doing some journalism and asking questions, and that's what I'm here for, guys, and to get to the truth.
Yeah.
So
if I was your friend, I'd be putting up missing posters everywhere.
Yeah.
Say that again.
He's done it all, man. It's been so bad.
I do want to get back to the information. Hellywood, what else do you have to drop Lynn Wood that we could, research and decipher for ourselves?
Well, I have one more question.
Well, yeah.
Okay, this is the last question. This is from I don't know if
we did make this about Lynn Wood. I knew it was going to happen.
Well, we can
you bastards. I love you guys anyway.
We talked about that before the interview. We said we will make sure that we don't make a whole interview about Lynn Wood.
You, man.
But we got to go over to.
I'll mess you, Mikey.
Okay.
But go ahead, buddy.
No problem.
I actually thoroughly enjoy discourse with you, man. So there's no topic that's out of touch with me.
Hey,
I think I learned from you guys too. I don't want to if I thought it was right all the time, boy, I would be a cute tart.
I think we're all doing great. I think we're all doing great, and we're making some progress. And
I think so too. But you guys opened my eyes to a lot of things too. Like we got to look at things from a lot of angles too. And I got that from you guys. I appreciate that. But go ahead, Mike.
My way of approaching any debate or any type of things that I might disagree with is you never know what you don't know until you know it. And you can't be afraid of learning anything just because you don't like it. So I always try to let all the information come out and then make my opinion from there. But I always try to do so with what's the best odd? What are the odds support? Like the best possible chance odds. And then I go with 1, 2, and 3. And then I try to pick which one is the most plausible.
It's like algorithmic in a way. It's like we're trying to be the human mathematical brain now.
100%.
And
let's remember, this is Michael's channel. He's got a question that he want to ask.
I'm patient.
I'm going to ask one last thing about Lynn Wood, and that's going to be after Michael asks his question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Michael.
Well, this is my question, and I want to verify. Somebody in Punish War Room last night stated that, Mike, this is to you, stated that you said something about Lynn Wood meeting with CNN in hotel rooms. Now, one, did you say that? And two, if you did, was that just something you heard through? We'll just expand on that a little bit.
Okay, so here's the thing, and I want to talk about how we used to operate TV and how I know that they still operate. So I worked with Gloria Allred on a television show where she was my legal, segment 7 legal counsel for the Jenny Jones show. I had her on. I think she's the devil, but that's neither here nor there. Well, months after that, the Jenny Jones show was going through this trial. I didn't start the Jenny Jones show. I started after the murder, but I was booking Gloria Allred, and all of a sudden she jumps on the, let's just say the prosecuting side of, attacking the Jenny Jones show, putting all this false info out, going to the media and completely putting out false info about the show. And I'm like, I don't have to defend Warner Brothers here or defend Televitures, which is the company that I worked with. But Gloria Allred was saying stuff that's false. And so all of a sudden, one of our other producers didn't realize that she was a part of this whole deal, that she was attacking us, and they booked her. So they almost flew her in, and that producer almost got fired for bringing that person, because you do not bring in an attorney that's the enemy on your freaking TV show. That's a no-no. Now, Lynn Wood, and I was looking for the article last night. I cannot find it to save my life, but there was a CNN affiliate reporter, a big contributor that met with him. And there was an article about it. And that guy actually said, do you think you're God? Actually, the reporter actually met at Lynn Wood's hotel room and asked him these questions, but he was a CNN contributor. He contributes to other things too, but a lot of CNN. To have those relationships and to still be working with anyone affiliated with CNN, if you just do the ever-living crap out of them, would be insane. And the disclosed amount of money that CNN and Lynn Wood and whatever that the agreements on, there's a lot of questionable, question to that. No, obviously it's an amount we can't see, but you know, in the TV world, a lot of small numbers have leaked. I mean, small. Now, nothing can be proven that, you know, it got settled for 50 grand or anything like that. But what are these soft law cases? Because, you know, look at Weinstein, look at Epstein, look at the victim's attorney, look at the plaintiff's attorneys. There's a lot of times, man, we do this in TV where the plaintiffs are on the same side as the defendant's attorney, like Gloria Allred and David Boies. Both of them are intermingled with Weinstein, the Weinstein case and the Epstein case. They play each other. They play for each other. So is Lynn Wood doing that? I don't know, but
I was going to say, in fairness, when you're in a lawsuit in a civil court, before there's any type of actual legislating being, or any type of like judicial process happening, the judge comes into the room and he says, "Does anyone want to go outside and begin, the process of a settlement? Because if you guys can go out in the hallway and discuss a settlement, then that's pretty." So you can imagine if he's in the middle of several different lawsuits with CNN specifically, that's not out of the question that he'd be meeting to talk settlement.
Kind of weird that CNN was covering the hell out of that case when it was against that.
Yeah, because it's kind of weird they had a meeting with him and then tried to release that they had a meeting with him as like some type of like thing that discredits him at the same time, which is kind of funny.
And then at the end of the day, who knows? It's insane. But it's a game you've been watching with Mark Garagos is the same way. Gloria Allred, David Boies, like there's always these weird attorneys where you don't know, are the plaintiff and defendant just best friends and trying to do payoffs? Like we never know. Or is this whole thing a show? Are these legal cases such a show? Just like some of these some of these false flag shootings as well. A false flag wouldn't just be extended to a shooting. It would be extended to a drawn-out legal case.
Don't even get me started on that, buddy. There's all kinds of them. That's my wheel.
Mike, I have a family member who was in like movies and stuff, like on a lot of sets in the 70s and stuff. And you're being in film. He's noticed it. I've noticed it. I'm sure you have too. When you're watching certain CNN broadcasts, say of like what happened in Kenosha, and like what happened in Minneapolis, you notice the perfect camera angles. They just happen to have free position for every single one of their shenanigans. They just always have the most prestigious angle, as if they got right in the middle of the chaos and had exactly the right position, but hours before the chaos.
Elijah's good. Elijah's pretty good. Elijah's a good camera guy. Seriously. He's everywhere where the action is.
Did I ever mention to you guys that I worked with the first CNN field reporter ever? You guys know what his name is?
Alex Jones?
No, that's Lockheed Martin Media Productions. This guy's name is Chuck DiCaro. You guys can look him up. Look him up on YouTube. He's still got some YouTube videos. But
I like the name.
Chuck DiCaro. So he actually
was he from Chicago?
I'm not sure where he's originally from, but he was an Air Force test pilot and ended up doing some special operations, like paddle boarding into Grenada and all kinds of different stuff. And then he became a CNN journalist, and then he became a DoD contractor where he was working on some different things, and he started a thing called the SVU, the Surveillance Video Unit. And I tried out for this group actually, and it was comprised of Army and Air National Guard, photo, video, photographers, videographers, editors, journalists, etc. And I went to this meeting with all these guys, a couple Air Force guys, a bunch of Army guys, and we met with Chuck. Chuck sent us, actually the administrator for the class, the guy that was setting up the class, last name Church, sent us these videos, these YouTube videos that we had to watch before we went to this training. And they were on something called Softwar, SOFTWAR. And you can still look those videos up on YouTube. But what Softwar, well, this is one part of the training that we started going through. And I didn't end up working on this surveillance video unit. That's right about the end of my Air Force career, which is a whole nother talk show. No pun intended, Mike. But So what software is distorting the enemy's perception of reality through multimedia applications, commercials, film, radio, et cetera, et cetera. And we went over a bunch of that stuff with Chuck, and
this poor guy.
Yeah, so
I'm reading his story.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. I thought it was kind of interesting. So I believe that he may have developed this type of thing, like the virtual reality in real life software, as a soft weapon to be used against other countries. You know, Patriot developed weapons maybe that would cause less deaths, less casualties for other countries, and then that ended up getting used on us because that's what we see every day in the news and, you know, social media, the use of multimedia applications to distort our reality of perception. So Chuck, later on, the story you're reading right now, him and his wife were in a hotel room. They were traveling somewhere. And the story, which I think is a cover story, actually is that 2 or 3 men broke into their hotel room and tried to rob them at gunpoint. And Chuck and his wife would always stay armed, which I think my guess is Chuck worked for the CIA at some point in time. If he worked for CNN, and he was, anyway, that's just my theory. Nothing he ever told me, but yeah. So basically, he signaled to his wife to toss his gun over to him. There a gunfight ensued. Chuck was shot 3 times. They killed the attackers, and Chuck lived and made it through that scenario. So I think that was a hit that they sent because he maybe, quote, knew too much information. But yeah, learning about the manipulation of our reality through multimedia applications. Sorry to keep repeating it. Researching Chuck DiCaro would be a good start for a lot of people. The other part of that class was kind of interesting.
What a story, dude.
We reviewed a bunch of videos of different enemy combatants blowing up our soldiers and Marines, airmen, and seamen, mostly Marines and soldiers, with IEDs. And we basically put together a bunch of patterns, kind of like we do as Anons. We put together a bunch of patterns on how they would, what points they would use to set off the ignition of the IED, because there would usually be somebody remote controlling it. They would use like a telephone pole as their marker, and as soon as the vehicle or tank would pass that marker, they would detonate the IED. And we noticed that they would always take these videos at a certain angle, so they had standard operating procedures. And they always got the best shot to get the most visceral reaction from the person watching it. And they made sure that they would yell Allah Akbar and play music in the background. And so what our job was going to be was we would literally have a briefcase with a laptop, and we would get anytime there was an IED attack, we would get sent that video, and as a team do exactly what we're all doing right now, was get together and brainstorm and try to get to the bottom of, or try to get the most information about their attacks and how they were using them to get a visceral reaction from their targets. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that story.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes. I mean, wow. Did you meet his wife, Lynn, Russell?
I never did. No. Chuck showed up to the class with his dog. Actually, he doesn't travel anywhere without his dog. His dog is named Prozac, and he said that he.
What was his name?
Prozac, like the drug. Yeah, he said he kept his dog with him so he didn't have to take antidepressants. His dog was his Prozac. So he was actually. I liked him. I liked him. We got along. And
when you're that high up, though, when you're working for on the contracting arena, these people are depressed. People talk about it's a different kind of PTSD when you feel like you're guilty, and I've experienced a bit of that working in television. And the more bad things I did, the more money I get thrown at me. And it was like, oh my God, so wait, if I'm a piece of crap, I get paid better, and I actually have like more job security. It was crazy.
That seems
Like
to be
here's
how
an extra $300 a week.
Yeah, it seems to be how a lot of things work sometimes. I used to say at my base.
Same with the music industry. It's both the same. You don't get rewarded for being someone who writes music like what was his name? Cannabis, the rapper Cannabis, who wrote all about, underground bases and human experimentation and all that stuff. And he would never get a record label contract because they would rather give it to someone who's going to dumb down the population, singing about diamonds and Lamborghinis.
Bingo.
Like Post Malone or something.
Yeah. The only thing they reward is something that will dumb down society. They don't ever reward things that will like uplift people's vibrations.
Yeah, good point. I mean, it's insane how I recognize that so much. I mean, I think that was the thing that aided me. Like, I think some of us truthers like have to reconcile, and I fit into that. And the things I've been more in the end of like helping protect a company and let things slip under the table, or like, I've talked about this in a couple other places, but remember Darren Sharper, the rapist?
Yes.
NFL?
Yeah.
I created a relationship with him. I had him on the Jenny Jones show, and before any of these rape allegations ever came out, I think he was, this guy's like an 8-time NFL Pro Bowler. I mean, that's how much of a great athlete this guy was. And a good-looking guy. That's what's weird. So he comes on my show, and it's a snowstorm, and he's coming from Miami. I have to divert him from Miami to Detroit because of the snowstorm, and then I have to get him a limo from Detroit to Chicago just to get him here because it's just that bad of a snowstorm, which is kind of crazy. And it was a dating show. Like, I want to date an NFL star, I want to date a pro athlete, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I had 3 other girls stranded in Detroit that needed to get to Chicago, and he goes, "No, you think you're riding with me, man? That's cool." I'm like, "Really? No way! You're a celebrity. I can't do that." It's like, "No, man, dude, it's cool. It's stupid. Don't worry, man." I go, "Okay, cool." So they ride together. He comes in, and the next morning there's this girl that's like rode in with them, and she's a beautiful black girl, like with these most incredible. Her eyes were so blue from crying. It was like they're like partially blue. Maybe she was like, maybe she was half white, half black. I'm not really sure, but she's really a really pretty girl and a very honest girl. I remember doing her pre-interview, and I thought, this girl's a champion. Like, this girl could do anything she wants in her life. I really like this girl. Well, she claims that she went to his room and had a drink, and then she just remembers waking up and he was on top of her, in and out, and then she woke up and all of her clothes were off and all this stuff, and she knows she was raped, and my initial reaction is like, well, how much did you have to drink? Like, what, I'm thinking I'm like supporting the celebrity right here. I'm like backing him already. And she's like, I thought we connected. You know me. I would never do anything. She's like, Mike, I had a sip. And come to find out years later, 9 women, 6 different states, all date raped by vodka and like Ambien, like crushed up Ambien or whatever. So these girls barely drink anything. So, but beyond that, like, Warner Brothers told me to stay out of it. Don't talk to her. Don't engage. Don't have anything to do with her. And I somehow that got pushed under the rug. But that could have been put out there. This guy could have been stopped. This guy could have had a freaking case on his ass. Yep. And I sat there in my fat Lexus, my beautiful condo in Chicago, and went home and tried to pretend it didn't have all the stuff that that you're a part of that doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden, at some point, it'll eat you up.
It'll eat you up when you start seeing kids who are like idolizing people that they shouldn't be idolizing. You know what I mean? And that goes back to the whole process.
Dude, I used to be told to. Is your 13, teen daughter? My teen daughter dresses too sexy, or my preteen daughter dresses too sexy. Not even teens. So a 10 and 11-year-old, you're on the phone with them before they even fly out. You go, "You're gonna dress sexy for the show, right? Well, send me photos of what you're wearing. Let me see what you look like in those outfits." I'm a 30-year-old guy saying this and being paid to say this. And it's like, it's okay because it's Warner Brothers Telepictures. I can say that. Meanwhile, this TV show is supplying the pedo market of viewers because it's a high-rated show, extremely high-rated. Then they get in, and if the girl doesn't want to dress sexy, I'm threatening to cancel their flight. I'm told to threaten to cancel their flight home if they don't get into a sexy outfit. This is an 11-year-old girl.
That's horrid.
And so like this is what I do. This is why I do what I do now.
Yeah, no, you know it's funny. I guarantee you, the more people hear this, it'll wake them up, because a lot of people, they just think, oh, it's Hollywood. Like, how could they possibly be evil? It's like, well, you just hear it from someone who's worked there. Go talk to anyone.
And anybody who's made it to a higher level, but you got to admit it. You got to admit what you did, and then maybe get a chance, and then research the hell out of stuff. And
you know what? That's why I kind of was like, I was eager to hear you out on these topics, only because like, knowing what I know about Hollywood, I was eager to hear what you had to say, and sauce wise, and I was even more impressed at your ability to dissect with me on it, just rationally on what is plausible and what makes sense. But it's like I always judge people based. I don't judge them on their past. I try to judge them on their work and what their and the body of their work, and not necessarily your work in television or necessarily Lynn Wood's legal past, but the work they're doing like right now in order to pull the wool back and let people see behind the curtain, and the people who are willing to like take that risk, and because it is a risk, man. People are dying because of this shit. So
I've paid the price. I mean, in a way, in a massive way. But I had to leave LA. It's not good when your landlord's a CIA contractor. Start exposing stuff. You're fucked. Excuse my language, folks, but you are fucked.
No, you're good.
Let me tell you something. I was ousted. I was illegally evicted from my apartment in West Hollywood. Boom! Right after I paid my rent, LAPD is at your house knocking and kicking you out. It was terrible. Meanwhile, that guy's a massive criminal.
Yeah, I'm going to go off on one of my tangents. You mentioned
Please do.
You mentioned Warner Brothers Pictures. So, okay, Warner Brothers Pictures created the Army and Air Force's Motion Picture Service. I believe it was in 1946, and made Jack Warner the head of that. Ronald Reagan was one of his original actors in the Army and Air Force's Motion Picture Service. Where is Warner Brothers located?
Is it Studio City?
Burbank, California.
Yeah, Burbank, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going somewhere with this, so stick with me. Who was the 33rd president of the United States? Harry S. Truman.
Truman Show.
You got it before I told you. When was he the president? 1945 to 1949. When did most of this start? Around 1946, Pentagon, CIA. You see where the Truman Show is going with Truman Burbank being the.
Those dates are pretty accurate. With the CIA control Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood's built on that darkness too. I mean,
Yep.
It's the big. Wow, man.
We covered this in the history show on Saturday, but Hollywood is the wood of Holly. If you ever read Harry Potter or any old books about like witches and wizards and warlocks, whatever, the wood of Holly is the cursing stick that they use to make curses. And the technology that you see in Hollywood with televisions, movies, is just an offshoot of Pepper's ghost technology. It was created by John Henry Pepper in the early or late 19th century, and that's the same technology they use with hologram technology now with Tupac at the Coachella, that whole thing. And
Hollywood Land.
Yeah, exactly. And Hollywood Land was the original name of it, but it was specific. And well, the reason why I say cursing, a cursing stick and a cursing wood is Holly, the wood of Holly, and that's why in movies and television shows, that's why you cast the characters. You have a cast of characters, like you cast a spell.
Oh man, you're blowing my mind right now.
Okay, here, think about this geographically, you guys. That whole area right there.
It was an orange grove.
What is?
Oh my God.
What is Van Nuys famous for? It's the porn capital of the world, pretty much, right? More porn is produced there than anywhere in the world.
Yep.
What is Hollywood famous for, other than making movies? Allegedly, the pedophilia capital of the world. What are those connected to? Burbank, the military production capital of the world for the Truman Show that we're living in. And what is real close by there? What's a museum that's real within walking distance?
Getty.
There you go.
Shit.
Pretty geographically coincidental.
I mean, if Barden puts it out there, it's like it feels a little different. It's like kind of, you know, I gotta say, man, I'm learning a lot tonight. I mean, this has been the greatest interview I've ever done.
Likewise, man. I've had some fun.
Yeah, this has been a good one. I really appreciate you guys being here and letting me moderate this and go off on my little tangents that I go off. But
well, that's amazing. I mean, what you just said. I mean, God,
you know,
I just looked at it that way. I never cared about Hollywood. I never even wanted to be in it. Just fell into it. So,
Mike, one time I was in the Chase Bank on Sunset and Vine, and I was sitting there. I was waiting to check on my account, and I was sitting there. I look up and I see this big tile mural inside the bank, and it says, "This mural is to certify that right here on this lot in 1913 was the first full-length motion picture film ever filmed," and it named the movie and the cast and yada yada, and it was a war movie. And I went, wow, that's a funny year, because I was just reading about that year and when I was researching central banks and the Federal Reserve in America.
Right there.
And it just so happens to be the exact same year they also got rid of our education system and started replacing our education with like remedial English and remedial math in college. They started replacing, you know, etymology and Latin and Greek etymology with remedial English in the public school system. Which Woodrow Wilson himself said the majority of Americans will now forego the privilege of a liberal education and instead be fit to perform specific manual tasks. So he was like basically saying these bankers, they just took over and we're gonna make you real dumb. And we have this entertainment starting over here. Don't worry, you're gonna be really well entertained for the next 108 years.
You'll be entertained.
And how did I fall into this?
Because we fell into false idolization. That's what this whole system.
But I never had any of that. I never had any of that. That was never I never wanted to be a TV. I don't know how this happened.
What made you initially push out there to work in television? What was the initial spark?
I flunked out of pre-med twice. I wanted a communications degree, and they go, "What do you want? Corporate communications or TV broadcasting journalism?" I went, broadcasting journalism seems easy. I want to just get a degree. And then I got into we did newscasts, and I remember we were supposed to be with a team. It's like a lab, and you have a shooter, you have a director, and all this stuff. Nobody showed up, so it was me with I don't know how to operate a camera or anything like that. This is like our college news thing, so I had to shoot it, did a whole report on it, write it, edit it, and I never knew how to do any of this stuff. And I was kind of almost crying. I'm gonna flunk out again in college. Pathetic, man. I'm a loser. And all of a sudden, I just got it done in the nick of time. It was apparently, everybody went bananas about the news piece. It was really good. I couldn't believe it. So then I noticed I had this weird thing where I could shoot and edit and cut and all that crazy shit and write and
that little bit of confidence, right?
Yeah, so I just went. I wasn't self-confident. I think so that built a little confidence of where you were finally good at something. And you were trying to figure it out your whole life, and you finally figured out what you were good at. So you might as well go with it. Not that I didn't hate it. There's got to be a love. If you're good at something, I think you must like it. So I definitely like the creative thing. I love that part of it. I really do. I love editing. I love shooting. And I love it all. But I more importantly, I never meant to get into all that stuff, and I never wanted to even go to LA. And I didn't have to for a few years because I was working in Chicago in a nationally syndicated talk show, making money. So until that show got canceled for Ellen, same company,
Wow.
TMZ, same company, same shit.
Well, hey guys, I just checked the chat here, and people are asking for us to do this show more often. So maybe we should all get together. And I mean, it's not like we'll run out of things to talk about.
I feel like we've all grown as people.
I agree. I like this. I like this atmosphere as far as just tackling topics. It's fun. So anytime you guys are down, I'll be down.
It was like a bunch of adults talking. It was kind of almost felt weird.
I think it's just kind of us three have experience and the Punisher too.
No,
his background.
It was
I
great.
mean, can you imagine, like, a lot of people that are talking really don't have a lot of experience in seeing some crazy, ridiculous deep state shit.
Yeah, more and more people message me all the time with, stories that they've been afraid to talk about, or thought people would think they were crazy or whatever. But when they hear me talk about my story, they say, man, I'm so thankful that, you've done this, and you've actually talked about some of this stuff, and, it's helped me. And they'll jump in the chat in the war room or in the Matrix or whatever and start to tell their story. And then more and more people that hear, the crazy shit that people have been through, the less conspiratorial it sounds when that many people are sharing their stories. Again, it becomes statistically impossible that many people would have similar stories about, same kind of stuff, but they're just now coming forward to talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah, sharing experience is about the most valuable tool we have in this day and age.
Yeah, that's why they want us all wearing masks, so we can't do that.
I think it's how we win, guys.
Yep, absolutely. So, okay.
It's 100%.
We got to do this once a week, man.
I'm down. I don't know about once a week. We'll see. I'll do it as
well,
often.
You do my show. I'm gonna start my thing in I'm probably about 8 or 9 weeks away. I had to push it back a little bit, but I think that we should all be jumping in on each other's stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm with it.
You'd be honored.
I'm down. It looks like, let's see, I'm getting handed a question here.
Barnett, you've had a crazy life, my man. I know. Like I've seen your stuff, and I'm just like, man, this guy's alive. What a badass.
I just got some.
I take that seriously, dude.
I just got some breaking news regarding that. Actually, let's see. True Kism here in the chat says, Michael Barton, did you hear Maine is closing down their fusion center, and they are only going to have 32 in the U.S. So that's a comment from somebody. I don't see any proof of that yet, but
I think he tweeted
it does go right along with something that actually General Flynn was just put out. Matt Gaetz tweeted something about this type of stuff on March 11th, and coincidentally, a couple weeks after that, he's getting extorted for $25 million and slandered all through the mainstream media. But General Flynn just put out, and several other people shared a tweet about, not a tweet, not on Twitter, on Telegram, about how the FBI surveillance overreach is much more severe than first thought to be. So as far as the crazy crap that I've dealt with, it has a lot to do with that. So I think we're getting somewhere with that. So
today was a huge day, you guys. Did you guys feel the craziness?
Yeah.
Like bombs dropping left and right everywhere you look. There are bombs. I mean, but I'm staying focused on audit. I'm staying focused on the border. Maybe some, I don't know, like a little bit of COVID, but I'm going to stay focused on the border and the audit. I don't know. What are you guys thinking?
No.
107 gave a really good interview on SGT Report. I found it on Rumble. It's 2 parts, 2 like 48-minute parts. And I found it extremely calming.
Oh, yeah? I'm going to check that out. I just met him.
Really?
Weeks ago.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we met up at Trump Towers. What a cool guy.
Somebody said 107 was Ted Cruz.
No.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, so whatever no, he's not anybody who, he's not junior or anything like that. He's just a guy, I guess, trying to make a difference. I don't even, honestly, who knows who he is, but like, I know what he looks like. I mean, I had steak with him.
so it's not Ted Cruz.
He paid for it.
I know he's got a profound knowledge of esoteric histories and how it relates to today's day and age. I've been fascinated by his level of intellect on the topics.
Yeah, but dude, it sucks so bad because like I was so interested to hear all that, but like he's so busy doing all these different things that the whole time, like most of the time, he's like, just 1 second, I gotta get this. So
yeah.
He would have to like I was dying to like I want to have more time with you, my man. But he was great, and it was pretty cool. I mean, it was kind of interesting to you heard about we've all heard about that guy, and then to meet him in person.
Well, I've done tons of research into that kind of stuff, trying to just make sense of everything, and the stuff that he was bringing about, even in relating it to American history. I mean, I was literally floored when he laid out the whole part about the Washington obelisk and how it's 555 feet tall and 111 feet deep. Foundation. That's a pretty odd foundation. If you report foundation, 111 feet deep is a massive foundation. But that also equates to 666 foot thick in the middle of Virginia and Maryland, which if you take the IA off the end of Virginia and land off the end of Maryland, it's a giant 666 foot thick in the middle of Virgin Mary.
Yep. No,
I had literally, it wasn't until him that I had even begun to comprehend that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm pretty intrigued with this new Telegram channel that I checked in last night. I started listening, and whoever this guy is, he has a pretty damn high IQ. He's got some experience, and I'm
afraid.
Oh man, I was on there for a few hours today listening and talking, but it's -48 is the Telegram channel, and this guy is a master
something
number
Gematria
calculator. He has a Gematria calculator in his brain and rattles this stuff off. There's no way that he would have time to look it up, but you just made me think about that, Tony, when you mentioned the numbers of the obelisk in Washington D.C. and stuff like that. And you can run.
Yeah, the 77 foot of the Pentagon, right? That's what you were thinking.
I was
from he talked about that last night. The 77 foot tall Pentagon wall that
it all
Flight 77 crashed in the whole 77s. It's kind of interesting.
All numbers.
But he says JFK Jr. is going to make a comeback May 1st. Like, he says a lot of wild stuff. And I'm like, no, you're doing something well.
107 said that?
No, not at all. This guy last night said.
Oh, did he give a date?
Independent 48 or negative 48.
Negative 48. He gave a date
last night. Yeah,
May 1st.
Okay, so
shit.
JFK Jr. is going to make a comeback May 1st. Which I'm like, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
I think
what you're saying.
He just more rattles off the gematria and lets people figure it out for themselves. And if he comes to certain calculations, if for instance, if the calculation says, JFK Jr. return May 8th or something, he'll rattle that off. But he just does it because like he's saying, his brain is like a human calculator, man. When you hear the guy rattle off numbers for letters, values, it's almost impossible to keep up with. But when you do keep up with them, you're like, holy shit, he's actually staying true. He's not, his brain isn't just some wild brain rattling off random numbers and letter values. He's actually staying to a true mechanism. And that's when it kind of does floor you that okay, let's just say, for instance, that does equal that. And then what else does that parlay into? And so for me, it's just I never really gave much into Gematria until I listened to one, and then I started listening a little bit more into it, but not to the point where I dedicate every one of my beliefs to it. I'm not even begun to. I always try to reference things like this. When I'm sold on something, I call it being married to the idea. Okay, I'm married to the idea that the Earth is not flat. I've come to enough things in my life.
What?
Yes. We can have that debate any day of the week. But I'll tell you,
I can't debate it. I would never know anything about it.
Well, I come from a family full of pilots, so for me it was just a no-brainer. But when it comes to certain things and ideals like that, it's really easy to get just caught up in the hype of any one just way.
You're so right.
Any one way of thinking.
Right. It's almost better to not be so mathematical all the time. You want to share. You want to feel things. You want to get a regular behaviors to pick up on to know what's what. Like you got to use that investigative technology, investigative brain, besides just running everything mathematically.
Yeah, you want to
right.
You want to
like basically, if there was some mathematical code that gave us answers ahead of time, obviously we'd all want to use it. Who wouldn't? But obviously God is going to be very, very careful giving us a gift like that, because then anyone could predict the future and anyone could be a billionaire overnight. So it's like with every tool comes its opposite.
Dang, Tony.
Yeah,
you were good, dude. You were awesome.
Well, I mean, for everything to exist, so much is opposite. For light to exist, so much dark. For left to exist, so much right. For someone to win, someone has to lose. There's all those things automatically exist well before we ever came into the equation.
Yeah, I just like hearing different perspectives from different people. I like to listen to everyone, compile all the information, let it bounce around in this bald dome right here, and come to my own most plausible conclusions. But my favorite thing about that guy is he reminds me of Rain Man reading off or reciting stats from baseball cards.
That's exactly how my brain relates it too. That's funny you said that. I'm a statistical baseball guy. Like I spent my whole childhood reading baseball cards when I was sick in the hospitals and stuff. So like with that, like I immediately relate brilliance on that level to a whole nother echelon where you can just, when you don't need the baseball card in front of you to read off their stats from like 20 years ago, that's like next level. That's
remember when you were a kid? You guys remember when you were a kid and you read off baseball cards? You're like 275. Yeah, he kind of sucks.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally.
And you never even looked at the on-base percentage. You never were looking at and you go, wait, what's his batting average? What's his home runs? Shut up.
Oh, he didn't have 40 home runs. He sucked.
What a weak year. And then the 90s came and it was on steroids. You're like, yes, baseball is awesome. And then
when I went into engineering school, I met a really famous producer. His name was Skip Saylor, and he came in to give a lecture at the school one night. And I happened to catch it, and his lecture was amazing. How fast he came in and just sorted through the room in 2 seconds. He just walked in. He said, "All the artists get up and go to this side of the room." Half the room got up and went to that side. He goes, "All the engineers get up and go to that side of the room." And I was the only person left. I was just sitting in the middle. He goes, "I'm a producer," and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like that was incredible.
Dude, but then, gift. I don't know what it is, man. You're good at a lot of you're good at a lot of different things, but you were good at music, huh? What was your talent with an instrument? You seem like you maybe had been a singer at one point.
I thought it was something I would love doing, so I gravitated towards it. I loved music, so I thought I would love being in music. But the music industry and music are completely wholly different world. One is like a euphoric sense of nostalgia. The other one is like a holy hell of a maze to go through, where it's nothing but sharks at every turn. So I imagine film is not any different.
No, yours is worse.
Yeah, yeah.
I just promise you.
Hey, we need to do a buddy check here. Pun, are you okay, man? You still there?
Yeah, Pun.
Punisher.
Did you fall asleep on us?
Taking a napski. You good, brother?
We are a bit ball ring.
He might have. Let's see. He's kind of out in the sticks in Georgia, so he might have lost connection. It says he's here.
Yeah, it says he's here. He might just have walked away from the phone for a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Either that or hold on.
We bored him. I bored him.
Yeah.
He's gonna ask me another Lynn Wood question. I'm like, no, don't do it. We're about to be done. I can't do any more Lynn Wood.
I had to follow up with what I said earlier about Rain Man. That was a compliment, by the way. I wasn't putting anybody down. I like Rain Man.
Yeah, I got. So, yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, we've been here for over 2 hours. I think we've covered.
Hey, I love it.
Just about.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you guys. This has been fantastic.
Feels like 15 minutes. So, but I'm getting a little bit hungry. I think it's time for me to go make some food or go get some food or something. And I think wrap up the interview. And like I said earlier, I really appreciate guys like you coming on my YouTube channel and sharing your knowledge, your experience, your research, and all of your insight, and sharing it with everybody else. That's why I'm doing this. If it was just about me, I probably wouldn't be fighting as hard or researching as hard or taking the chances that I have. So I appreciate you guys.
I'm proud of you, man.
I'm
really proud of you and all the things you've been through. I've been with you for 2 years, and we've been, I've followed you.
Yeah,
we've been tight.
You're a champion, Mike. Straight up, I love having this conversation. And I can second exactly what he just said. You're a champion, Michael.
You guys are you're making me blush. Stop it.
No, I got profound respect for people who've been through the woodworks and come out a truth seeker and people who are just unafraid. You know what I mean? I love that. I think it gives other people who've been through less a lot of courage. When you see courage in the room, it multiplies courage. I always tell a story when I was on the bus and some guy was, pretty much verbally beating up on his girlfriend and then started physically throwing her around. And I was looking around like, am I the only guy on the bus that's going to say something? There's a bunch of guys bigger than me that could have stood up. And the guy that was doing it was a pretty big guy. But the second I stood up and said, hey, all of a sudden, everyone else in the whole bus had courage. All of a sudden, they all, stepped in. Thank God, the guy was going to mop me up. So, I was willing to step in the middle just to take one for the team if it meant her not being on the receiving end of it. But it was just crazy how no one was going to say anything until one person showed courage, and all of a sudden, it just multiplied throughout the room exponentially. So, when people like you are around, Michael, it just adds to the strength of the community.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
And same with you, Mike. Same with you, Mike. I have to say you showed some tremendous courage even talking about the things you were talking about today. So likewise.
I don't even know. I don't even get it. I don't even know. But I can tell you, what's great is you stood up to that guy. Even if you didn't have anybody on your back, that guy would have backed down from you.
Oh, totally. The people, cowards are afraid of courage. That's what it is. And as soon as courage is shown and courage multiplies, cowards, they flee like fucking hyenas, man.
And that's what Barton's been doing his whole life, and that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing, and I think that's the fun part about it. Because no one will stand. No, the bad guys won't stand up if they're wrong.
Yep. Hey, Michael, I have one of the admins trying to get a hold of Jesse just to see if he's cool, but he can't. It's still connected, so we have to end this just so we can get a hold of him.
Okay, yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do that.
I love you guys. This has been great, and I look forward to doing it again. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Love you guys.
Absolutely. You guys have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Michael, Tony.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, let's end that meeting. Everybody's still here on the chat. Let me check the chat real quick. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Let's see, let's make this bigger. Whoa. Whoa, look at that.
What?
That just, it's, what did I do?
Screen?
All right. Well, hey, that's a great way to end the live stream. That looks really cool. It looks like we're in the Matrix. Look at that. Woo! All right. 2 hours, 17 minutes. What a perfect time to end this live stream. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Hope you learned something, and I hope you will share the information that you learned with the people you love. Have a great day.